I hope you must have enjoyed part 1 where I introduced Power Query and shared how to import data from web. If you have not seen that video yet, then do watch this video. Link is there in the I button at the top right of the screen and in the description of this video. This is part 2 of this series where we will cover importing data from a folder. Without taking any more time, let's start the video. Hi guys, welcome back to Tech Reflections. I'm Vikram and today we are here for the second video on Power Query where we will import the data from a folder. Consider a situation where you get the yearly sales data which need to be transformed and then you need to generate some pivot tables for analysis. Now let's see how we can automate this routine task with the help of Power Query. So here we have this a new workbook open, and let me show you. This is the folders where we are having these files where we have sales for 2015 and 2016. So we'll see how are we going to use these files in Power Query, and we'll transform and then create a pivot table from this table. Okay, coming back to Excel, as you must have seen in the first part of this Power Query series, that how to open that Power Query window, we need to go to data, and then from here we need to create a new query. So we can click on new query. The first option is from file, and if you see further in that, there is the option called from folder. So you have to click that. Now Power Query will ask the location of that folder. Okay, so let me put the location. Right. So this is the location we have, and we'll just click on open. Okay, so now you can see this is the window that is open, and right now it's showing you two files which has the sales for 2015 and 2016. So at this point of time, because we want to make some changes, so let us click on transform, and after the transform we would be merging the data for these two files. We'll see how that would be done. We click on transform data. It will open the editor window. Right. So here this window is open. Now because we will be pulling out this data files from a specific folder, so there may be chances that if you put any other file there, our query might not be able to work correctly because the format of that file may be different, or maybe that file is not to be picked up by the Power Query. So how are we going to restrict our Power Query to open up only the relevant files? So what we can do here, in our case, we'll just we are making sure that the file that we are picking up are only the Excel sheets. So what we can see here, we have some few columns. The third column is for extension. We'll go ahead and filter it. We'll go to text filters, and we'll go to text filters, and we'll just click begins with. Okay, so this window is open. So now it's asking us how we want to filter. So what we are doing, we just want that we should have only .xlx file, and no other file would be picked. In case if there are any other files like any PowerPoint or PDF file there, our query will not be picking up those things. We just click on OK. Fine. So this on the right side, if you see in the applied steps, it already had a step for filtered rows, which we have filtered here. So once we have done that, now we can move ahead and combine the data for these two files. How are we going to do that? If you see on the first column, that is for content, there are two arrows just next to it. If you take your cursor over it, it will tell you that it is for the combined files. If you click on that, it will just merge the data for these two files. Right, okay. So now it has opened another window that is for combined files. So what it is asking for is that what exactly we want to do on this, and it has picked up as a sample file where it shows us first file. So whatever we select from here would be applicable to all the files. If you see in this column, in this drop down, we have both the files, and the first file, that is sales of 2015, is taken as the sample file. And if you click on this, sheet 1 will get all the data that is there in our this file, which we need to use for our analysis. So as of now, we don't need to make any changes here. Just we click on OK, and these two files will get combined. Okay, so now the data for both the file is combined, and on the left hand side of this editor area, you can see the name of the source file is mentioned here. Right now it's showing only some initial rows, not all the rows are shown. So the source is also defined here, that this data is coming from sales 2015 file. On the left hand side, if you see, there is a list of queries that are created, but you need not worry about these. These are all internal queries. We need not make any changes here. This data which you see at the last is the query right now which we are working on. We can change the name of this if you want. Let's say if you want to make it sales data, that can be done. So it will update the query. Now, if in our data we see we have to make few adjustment to our data. On the right side, if you see, there are few rows where the amount is 0, so which we are not interested in. So what we will do, we want to remove those columns, remove those rows where the this value is 0. So what we can do, we can just go to this amount field, amount column, and filter it and remove this 0 value. So all the rows where it is 0 is removed. But now if you see, there are few more rows where unit is 0. Again, that is also not the good data, so we'll remove that also. Go to the filter and remove the 0. Okay, so now all the data is clean, in the sense that we don't have any 0 values in units and amount. Now there is another thing. We have two columns here, first name and last name. Let's say if you want to merge these two. So let's see how can we do that. For merging, let's say if we select this. Now, right now, first name and last name needs to be merged. So what we can do here is that we need to select both these columns. If you click on the top header row, it will select all the rows for first name, and the same we can do by pressing the control key. Same we can do for last name. So both these columns are now selected. So if we need to merge them, then we need to go to transform, which is already clicked. So now we click on, there is a option called merge columns. So we can just click on merge column. Now it is asking how are we going to merge. So the first thing it is asking is what should be the separator. So in our case, because it's the first name and last name, so we can have space as the delimiter. And now second thing it is asking is what name we should give to the merged column. So in our case, because these are sales representatives, so Let me put the name as sales rep and click OK. Okay, so now you can see there is one column created after merging the first name and the last name, and that column has a header as sales rep, and now the first name and last name are merged. So this is like the transformation, and all these steps are recorded in the right hand side on the applied steps. If you can see, the last action we did is we have merged the columns, and before that we just filtered the rows where we removed all the zeros from unit and amount field. So there are multiple transformations that you can perform on your data. You will have a separate video for these transformation things. Right now, in this video, we will focus on how to import the data from a folder, and we are working on that. Okay, so now all the transformation that we need to do, we have done. Now the next thing we can do is we can just load this data back into the Excel sheet. So for that, we'll go back to Home tab, and the first option is Close and Load. We'll click on that, and in that also the first option is Close and Load. We'll click on that. And now all the data that is merged from these two files with those transformations will get loaded into our Excel sheet. Okay, on the right side you can see all the steps that the query has done, that Excel has performed, and this is the final query, sales data. We have total 208 rows loaded. Okay, so at this point of time we can just close this. Okay, now what we want to do is, now we want to create some pivot tables on this data. So we'll see how the pivot tables are created. If you're finding this video useful, then do like the video and share it with your friends, and also subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so that you get notified when the next video will be published, and we will get the motivation to bring more such content to you. Now moving to the pivot tables. If you are not aware of how to create pivot tables, there is a video separately created only for how to create pivot tables. The link for that video also you will get in the description and in the I button. Go ahead and check out that video also. And so let's move and create a pivot table for this. So we'll just select anywhere inside, because this data is in a form of a table. So if you click somewhere inside, whole of the table gets selected. Now what you have to do, just go to insert and insert a pivot table. Here it is asking for where you want it. So I want it in the existing sheet, and it's asking for the location. We'll go into the sheet 1, which is a blank sheet, which we opened earlier when we started this. Usually this Power Query uses a new sheet every time, so that's the reason it goes into the data gets loaded into sheet 2. So we have the sheet 1 as a blank sheet. So we want our pivot table here. So sorry, you can just click anywhere in this sheet 1 and go back and click OK. Okay, let's remove this and try again, because we clicked 2 times. So I think that's the reason it is taking sheet 1 as 2 times, and now I think it should be okay. Click OK. Yeah, so now it is creating a pivot table for us. Now what do we want in the pivot table? That's all up to us, depending upon how do we want to analyze our data. We can get these details here. Now let's say we have date here. In the date part, right now, let me just, okay. So whenever you take this date field in your rows, it automatically groups the data. Right now the data it is showing is grouped into years, quarters, and date. So which you can see from here. This is year, under that we have quarters, and then we have date, which is actually month in this case. But if we let's say if we don't want it the grouping to be in this way, and we don't want this quarter to be there, so we can just click and right click on any of these and go to group. And here in this window, grouping window, you can see month, years, and quarters as selected. You can just remove quarters, click OK, and now we have year 2015 and 16, and then we have a month also. If you want only years, then you can remove this date part like this. Now you have only years here. So what we can do now, on the right side, we want to show the sales for that year. So the amount field goes to the values, and you can see we have 2015 and 2016 sales right here. Let's say if we want to have further classification on the basis of the sales representatives, you can just click on the sales representative, and by default it goes to rows. You can drag it and take it to column. So if I remove this, you can see now it's broken down on the basis of the sales representatives. So sales is there, or whatever if you want any changes, you can make those required changes in the data. Let us go back, and let's say if you don't want this sales representative, you can just drag it, take it outside, and it will remove. It's easy. All this you can see in the pivot table video also. Now this is what we have done with our data for 2015 and 16. So how does that Power Query helps us is that whatever steps we have already done on the data for 2015 and 16, let's say now we have got the data for 17 and 18, 2017 and 18. So we don't need to repeat all those steps and all those transformations and all those changes that we have done. We just need to put our data in that folder and refresh our data, and then the pivot table, we will get the new data here. Let's see how that would be done. We go back to this data here, and we'll come out of it. Let's say we have this 2017 and 18 data also. We just take this data, put it inside of a folder. Okay, now we come back to the pivot table and this data which was loaded from the Power Query, and now we go to query, and under that there is an option for refresh. We just click on refresh. So that data is now refreshed, although it's not very visible from here. So what we can do, we can just go back to the Power Query and see if we can get the data for 2017 and 18. So we'll go to analyze and click on refresh all. So you can see now we have the data for 2017 and 18 also available right here. So this is how Power Query helps us in doing the data, the routine task which we are doing, and reduces the effort of doing them again and again. We just transform the data for 2015 and 16. For 17 and 18 we didn't do anything. We just put the data in that folder, and all the steps were done automatically, and query transformed our data and then loaded this data right here. So all the effort that we have to do on those tasks is reduced to almost zero. So drop a comment and let me know what all you want me to cover in this video series on Power Query. This is all we have for today's video. You can check out more videos on Excel, Google Sheet, and PowerPoint on this channel. Link to those videos and playlist will be right there in the description of this video. Enjoy them, and I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye.